I want to show you on how to set up a generic model um, family. And I went ahead and I opened up so in your default families that are pre pre loaded onto your when you download when you install Revit. Um, if you go down through the list, you'll find generic models. That I personally like to start with. Some people have their different opinions on that. The reason why is it just gives me a basic starting point. The first thing I like to do is when I open it, I'll press WT, and what that will do is window tile my views. Usually, if you grab your starting files from just your default templates, they're already set up like this. So when they created these, they did them in this fashion. So your 3D views up here on the top right, your floor plans in the top, your elevation. Shoot, didn't mean to do that. Your front views, the bottom left, and then your elevation left is over there on your bottom right. I personally would rather have this be my right elevation, but I'm content with this, especially being that all the defaults are kind of like that. Um, so, and it's not really that different, but I want to start with doing a zoom extents on all these, um, and that's just double clicking your mouse wheel. So another thing is I know where my level is, and I don't really want to see that. So there's a few different configurations I could recommend, and that would be setting up your units to show differently, such as not needing to put in feet and inches, but more or less putting in just uh, regular numeric numbers such as 1, 2, and this is all. I'm speaking all from an imperial perspective, not metric. So, but when you do set up those units, just to put in inches, because usually when you're building families, from a cut sheet, they, depending on how they're built, majority of the time though, they're shown in overall inches and not overall feet and inches. So that's just a recommendation, especially if you're building these a lot. So I'm gonna come in here in my plan view. I'm gonna come up here to the crate tab. Down here in the, the panel forms, I'm gonna press extrusion. This one I use the most, especially if we're just making a box, then it just makes sense. But over here, you'll see that there's a modified crate extrusions. Pops up after you go to extrusions. Um, just some extra stuff specifically for this. Um, uh, but you can see there's different things we can use to draw, such as partial ellipse, line, uh, inscribe polygon. I'm just going to use rectangle. I'm going to come down here, pick a point, pick another random point, and then boom, done. So now we have the base of it. You can see over here there's a parameter for it. We can see the extrusion end. So the end would be pretty much upwards in the z-axis, so it's going up 1 foot pretty much, and we'll see that down here in the front view. So if we come over here, we can change that to whatever we want, and it updates. If we press the check mark, we can see that update, and then in real time we can update it and see. So we can see it change down here and in our 3D view and our left elevation. So it's kind of how we build a box. That It's pretty simple. I want to show you real quick on the different things. This is partly why people don't want you to use the generic models, is because depending on how their standards are set up, they're not covered too much in the visibility for different templates, especially if you're in a multidisciplinary firm. Generic families wouldn't necessarily be appropriate for everything, especially and there's not very many other than just generic models types. Um, uh, Unless you associate them just with mechanical drawings, then that would be okay. But being the fact that usually that's not the case because they're generic and it's in the title, they're not necessarily specific to anything. Most people don't build them too much into their templates. So, if you come up here, so I'm gonna exile this and show you again. But if you come up here to the um, folder thingy button, uh, family categories and parameters, press on that, and you can see it gives you all the same stuff that you could originally pick from the beginning when you started your family. You can pick from a list of these. So if you're building a mechanical component, then for sure change it here. And then that would also associate with your view templates if you're using those. Um, but for now, we're just going to stick with generic models. Um, some of here are the family parameters. So work plane base, always vertical, cut voids. This is nice. Shared is pretty cool. Um, and that's nice, especially when you're bringing it into other families, and we'll touch on that later. But uh, that is pretty cool um, for multifamily content. Like for example, rigs that have electrical panels associated with them. You could have then at that point you can have mechanical equipment with electrical um, items inside of it. So I'm gonna press OK. Come back down here, and then within the family, I'll I want to add extrusion. I just want to real quick put a couple dimensions on this. So I'll grab one, put one there, grab another, and then put one to the reference plane, another one there, come up, and I want to press this EQ, and all that's pretty much doing is equaling it. So from this point to this point, and from this point to this point, they're even um, split between 3 feet, 1 and 5 and 32, 30 seconds. So I'm going to do that down here, here. And the reason why I want to do that anyway is because, and I'll show you in 1 second, if I grab any of these and try to change anything, it won't let me. But if I grab it and create a parameter, let's just call this width. Press OK. We can now change it, and it flexes evenly from the center point um, instead of flexing some weird way that isn't really centered to the point where it's at. So, um, especially, this that's kind of more important when you have types and you're updating a ton of them. They may shift, you know, they may extend to the right side, and then it's not necessarily what you intended. If that is, you can definitely build that in there. So that's why I put that on there. So that's kind of how you put a parameter on there, and it's not too in depth. They're simple, and I'm definitely going to get a little bit more in depth with them later on. But this would definitely get you started with how to build a box, how to have some parameters associated with it, a bit about the category and some of the parameters. And then from there, you can just import it into your project, close this out, save it somewhere, or just leave it primarily in your project, however, however, however you want. Um, Let me know if there's anything I missed or anything else you want to know along with this. I do plan on doing some more videos in the future. We'll see. Um, do like, share if you do like it. Like it if you don't, just leave a comment. It definitely helps in developing these in the future. I appreciate you watching, and thanks a lot.